Hi, this is Rahman Sheikh. Welcome to Fortnightly Railway Transportation Systems podcast. I am the host and railway systems specialist working in this industry for 24 years and counting. This podcast is primarily focused on railway experts who have vast amount of experience and contributed greatly to this amazing industry. This is not a technical seminar but focuses on feel good stories, individual journeys, their success and failures, motivating younger generation to kickstart their career in railways and creating a sense of pride for the railway people who devoted their lives on the most environment friendly public transportation. Our guest for this fortnight is Bassam Mansour, Project Director at HSS Engineers, delivering KVMRT Line to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Bassam started his professional career with British Railway Board in the 80s as an electrician engineer working on 750 volts DC and 25 kV Channel Tunnel Electrification, and has occupied some prominent positions like as a senior manager in Dockland Light Rail in the UK, London Underground Bosphorous crossing in Turkey, Dublin Area Transit System in Ireland, Japan Railway Technical Services in Tokyo, Delhi Metro in India, General Director of Dubai Metro, Director of Engineering at Roads Transport Authority, and advisor for UAE Government on railways. Bassam published many technical papers and performed hundreds of presentations on railways. Bassam has done his engineering degree in industrial engineering at Manchester University, emphasizing on power and railways, and Masters of Business Administration at Westminster University from the UK. Bassam comes with 36 years of industrial experience working in the entire V cycle of engineering from concept to completion, operation and maintenance. He is a fellow at Institution of Engineering and Technology and Institution of Railway Signal Engineers. Hi Bassam, welcome to Railway Transportation Systems podcast. It's a privilege to have you as our guest on this platform.
Many thanks, Rahman, and thank you for inviting me. It's great to talk to you about an interesting journey of the railway and also the subject itself.
Thank you. Let's start with your professional transport journey. How it started and how did you make it so far with such an ease?
Well, I have always been inquisitive from a young age, and I wanted to know how things work. Interestingly enough, I was always fascinated by space technology, hence my choice of studying to become an engineer after doing my A-levels in the late 70s in Manchester. I find physics and mathematics a very enjoyable subject, and I knew if you want to study engineering, you have to fall in love with two subjects. One is mathematics and the other is physics. So these subjects remain fascinating to me, in particular electromagnetism and levitation. My career actually started in the oil and gas industry in Manchester, where I worked on the shop floor making safety relief valve and vacuum valve. I learned so much on fluid mechanics, NDT and casting technology from interacting and working with foundries in Europe as well as the UK. I made it from the shop floor to an application engineer role, helping customers like DuPont, British Oxygen, Courtauld, Sellafield nuclear reactor waste management, pharmaceutical industry, and supporting LPG liners, valve maintenance. Huge amount of learning on material selection and material properties and their associated testing. In the mid-80s, the Channel Tunnel idea was being revitalized. And when the project was authorized, I joined British Railways Board as an electrification engineer, as I was incredibly excited to participate in what was a feat of engineering at that time. During working for British Railways Board, I spent many days and nights working on construction of the overhead line catenary system, substation construction and testing and commissioning. I was part of the testing team that brought the 25 kV system into life, and also I joined in with many British Railways employees in our maiden visit from Waterloo in London to Paris in France. In fact, I still have the ticket. After British Railways Board stint, I joined a few international consultancies such as W.S. Atkins, as it was called, Parsons Brinkerhoff, Canadian Duncan, London Underground. I worked at Japan Railway Technical Center, and the railway became a huge enjoyment for me as it encompasses a lot of engineering topics. As I studied engineering, this has fitted very well with my background. This is where it all started. This is how I got involved so passionately in the railways.
Quite inspiring, an incredible journey, Bassam. It's a privilege having you in Railways. Better you left oil and gas. In your interview with CIO Review magazine for January 2023 in Kuala Lumpur, there are some interesting questions. I would like to repeat one question for the benefit of those who did not get the opportunity to read the magazine. What are the challenges you faced while implementing digitalization in railways?
Okay, I mean, as you say, we had encountered this question before, but let's face it, digitalization is the most vital technology today. All our engineering work is driven by digital systems, and therefore the key challenges of digitalization really include, number one, in my view, familiarization with Wi-Fi, broadband, radio frequency identification, transducers, the memory size, memory technology, microprocessor speed, machine language, fuzzy logic, and artificial intelligence. This was applied, interestingly enough, briefly to a tunnel boring machine successfully here in our project in the Putrajaya line. Our contractors managed to use autonomous TBM. Using electronic drawings and 3D models as opposed to printed drawing, our ability to use the simulation technique available and competency in using the technology are other matters of challenge. Communication principles, for example, have always been a niche subject and not many people really understand it fully. But it's a key success factor to project. I'm talking about broadband, wavelength, speed and coverage and quality of audio and radio, etc. The BIM familiarization and realization is another challenge that has a huge benefit, especially using digital twinning, a terminology which we have now, 3D models, virtual design reviews, visualization of railway stations as the big picture, and being able to see it as a whole before you start constructing it. So in my experience, strictly applying the BIM design process and following it through to the ultimate end needs enforcement, as often the complexity of the digital models can frighten people off. For example, GIS usage and ensuring continuity throughout, electronic site diaries and digital engineering using drones and what we call PCD or point cloud data. All those familiarization with technology is absolutely essential. These are tools that the modern engineers have to use. So the key challenge, what happens when the internet is disrupted or cybersecurity threat endanger the digital infrastructure? So these safeguards must be thought about, and we must ensure that the system is safeguarded. I have to say the CBTC system in the railway, signaling system in the railway, is robust and has an incredibly strong firewalls and defensive systems that is incredibly difficult to hack. So another challenge is digital domestication of staff and tailor-making the digital system to suit the project. For example, some CDE or common data environment can be elaborate and complex and discourage its use. It's frightening. There are too many clicks before you actually get to the desired outcome. And, if you are going to have about 15 clicks before you get where you want, clearly something is not right. We don't have a choice whether to accept or reject digitalization. It's a matter for success or failure, I believe, in business generally. Most old systems are becoming obsolete, thus moving forward with digitalization is paramount.
Amazing, quite challenging. There's lots of lessons from this. Are you sharing your lessons learned?
Many lessons. BIM should be used. BIM is not a window dressing. All these tools have got to be simplified. People need to be trained on them. You don't want those systems to become impediment to delivery. So the lesson is use those systems, provide sufficient training, but don't be enslaved by them. Use them effectively in the project.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing this, Bassam. From your recent industry news, just read it on the LinkedIn especially. There's a new railway opened on 16th of March, Putrajaya line. Can you run through us on this, please?
Yeah, I mean, this is the project I had been involved in the last 7 years. The project is about 57 kilometers of track with 24 elevated railway stations and 11 underground railway stations. The underground stations are in the central business district in Kuala Lumpur, and they are adjointed or joined by underground tunnels, about 5.8 meter internal diameter. The railway opened in 2 phases. Phase 1 was opened on the 16th of June 2022, and last Thursday, the 16th of March, we opened the phase 2 to complete the entire line. The line has been successfully delivered and is already in operation. And at the time of opening of the railway, I saw, that is on Thursday, last Thursday, over 1,000 people actually boarded the train. I was on the train. Incredibly packed, and the train successfully delivered its journey without any incident whatsoever, without any technical hit. Platform screen doors open in lockstep with the train doors, automatic platform gate. So the entire system was a beautiful success, and it was really good and very pleasing and a proud moment for my colleagues and I to see the success of the delivery of this project. The fleet size is about 49 trains, 4-car train consist with 2 depots. So the line is in operation for a few days now, and we believe that it will make a difference to be able to travel into the central business district from the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur.
Brilliant. It will make an impact, and I'm very happy for you and very proud. It's not just for you and your team. I think you made the whole rail industry very proud. I congratulate you and your team for this awesome job. Well done.
Thank you.
It's 7 years, and I think even COVID came in the middle, quite challenging.
COVID intervened, of course, for 2 years, and despite all the odds, despite the COVID, despite the difficulties, despite the restricted movement order by the government, and despite the infection of many COVID positive cases, the contractor and the client and Marty were very, very commendable in my view. We had our own clinic, we were vaccinated, and we were tested regularly. Every time we go to site, we were tested. And as I said, despite all these constraints, the project was delivered. And really, the Putrajaya line, I would say it positively, it was a shining example of collaborative work between contractors and the client and the regulator. I was happy to participate. I was happy to be in the epicenter of this project, being the independent consultant engineer. My views were sought on difficult matters of delivery. So this project has been successful, and I think it's a fantastic service to Kuala Lumpur passengers, and I think it's a welcome addition to the urban transport system in Kuala Lumpur.
Beautiful. Amazing job, Bassam.
Thank you.
Thank you for your leadership. Apart from this fascinating project, you personally worked in conventional rail, metro, heavy rail, high speed, and even Hyperloop.
Yes.
Which one has challenged you the most, and where do you think railways is going in future?
Well, I mean, as you can tell from my background, I'm a railway person through and through, and therefore railway systems are fascinating to me as a subject, and I believe railway has benefited cities around the world to combat congestion, traffic pollution, gridlock, and congestion. So each transport system, Rahman, has its own challenge. So urban transport and delivering metros and LRTs in densely populated areas such as CBD is incredibly challenging. I mean, Kuala Lumpur is a huge conurbation and a metropolis of the central business district is about 1.8 million. The outer skirt of Greater Kuala Lumpur nearing 8 million, I would say. So as you can imagine, the challenge for urban transport is huge, particularly with respect to consultation that necessitates intense interface and integration of the work, underground tunneling work, deep excavation, all carries with them a huge responsibility in terms of identifying the risks involved, such as groundwater, geology, and hydrology. Urban transport, as I said, certainly is coming to the rescue of cities from congestion. And therefore, the government, transport authorities, and regulatory authorities have to work together in terms of intervention, demand policies, such as regulation, car parking, and the number of stations and catchment area. So this is a huge area of interest when it comes to metro. It has its own challenges. A metro must make a difference to the central business district and the inner city areas. High speed is different. High speed, which utilizes primarily at the moment overhead line catenary system with a 25 kV or 50 kV catenary system. And one of the challenges, of course, of this system is electrical clearances, maintenance clearances, interface with line side neighbors, noise propagation, as we have experienced in the Channel Tunnel Rail link, which I was involved in, where there was a lot of protest about the noise. We're also aware of, as you may be aware, I'm sure you are, the Kuala Lumpur-Singapore high speed was initially started as a good concept, I would say, with a future potential benefit to both the great countries of Singapore and Malaysia. But it had required a lot of investment and involvement in the public sector. The idea is slowly being revitalized. High speed is a government concern. It's a government policy, and it's a subject of its own right, to be quite honest. High speed. The Hyperloop technology is a relatively new idea. The concept is very old. It goes back to at least 100 and maybe 120 years old. The proof of operation concept is a huge challenge, including acceptance by regulatory authorities in terms of safety and licensing. And my role really in Hyperloop is being one of the 6 technology judges on Hyperloop for Version 1. So my role is really to examine the technical ideas and challenge the design and see how this concept can become a reality. But initially, what we wanted to ensure is that we have a proof of operational concept. I strongly believe that high speed will prevail as the most effective land transport system for journeys, say, greater than 200 kilometers. Hence, the future of HSR for KL, Singapore, and KL Bangkok as well, which is another strategic link eventually. I'm not ruling out maglev, especially superconductive maglev, as a valid tender for high speed. As you know, I said earlier, I am fascinated and interested in electromagnetism. So the challenge to high speed is, number one, a compelling business case. You need to have a business case for it. Governmental support and investment and achieving balance in transport system landing. So can you see horses for courses? The rail transport system is very wide, and each specific mode has its own challenges.
Quite interesting insights, Bassam. Thank you. Great analysis and observations, especially that Hyperloop business case you just spoke about. Is that in and around Malaysia, or was that in a different country?
No, it is basically in America, my primary involvement, and the Netherlands. And I had some discussions, of course. There was plans to have it in India and Dubai, but that's where we are at the moment.
Great insights. You worked a lot on railways. As wheels move the train, even you have wheels. As I can see, you moved to different countries and worked on a number of key projects. I should say you and the projects both are privileged. How do you control and monitor projects? It's not easy. Which technologies did you use to enhance the project's delivery?
Yeah, an interesting question, Rahman, because each project is different. I follow projects, and as I said, I found the railway incredibly satisfying industry for me, certainly, because it contains all sorts of engineering disciplines. So projects are unique occurrences. They are more more temporary, results-directed organizations and goal-oriented. What worked previously doesn't necessarily work for a new project, depending in the country where the project is. I mean, for example, the approach in India is different than Dubai, than Ireland, than the UK, than Malaysia. They're all different. There are many factors affecting delivery, such as culture, communication, effectiveness of the project front-end work, otherwise known as the cheap end of the project, such as the viability of the concept. More vital, as I said earlier, having a compelling business case, operation and maintenance principle. You cannot deliver a project if it's not justifiable. And in fact, from an engineering point of view, it's very difficult actually for engineers to be delivering something that is not required or not justified. Technical leadership in terms of delivery and being able to see the big picture like a jigsaw puzzle you are trying to draw or build is vital. If you haven't seen the big picture before, it is highly unlikely that you are going to notice it early. This, of course, requires assembling teams of mixed resources, right skills, and competence. And without competent resources and knowledge, difficulties would arise, leading to expensive mistakes, overrun, and overspend. There's another area of vital importance to project delivery, which is basically what all railway projects are all about: interface and integration. The entire project revolves around this requirement. Hence, from the outset, one needs to understand and appreciate the strategic nature of interface and integration. You mentioned earlier BIM usage for clash identification and resolving these matters early help the delivery very much. So is software systems such as Comply Pro for interfaces and tackling and tracking changes. Active risk management, focus on key risks are also key fundamental. The other aspects of project, local procedures, plans, standards are important, but need to be designed to work well, especially at time of flow. Inevitably, the project will encounter times of rapid changes or a period of hiatus. Like the project organizations, procedures are perishable. Often people bring in procedures from other projects, other specification from other projects, copy and paste, and this has to be handled with care. There's nothing wrong with copying, using other information, but it needs to be an intelligent gathering of information. So procedures are perishable and disposable if they're not useful to the project. And you don't want these procedures to be a bureaucratic roadblock that hinder the project delivery and not help it. So the procedure needs to be situationally responsive, not perfect and getting stuck or becoming incapacitated because we cannot overcome difficult, protracted, bureaucratic, and not user-friendly procedures. How often documents are rejected because they don't comply with the procedure, and that procedure may not be relevant.
I agree.
It's the leadership of the project director, armed with knowledge and good advice, become vital. This is why challenging the design and tolerance to constructive, good questions is vital in the delivery of project. And this is why project director must be a railway knowledgeable person with emphasis on people skills. Please remember, projects are not built by people sat behind their desk. Projects are built by people in the trenches, builders and labor force who are making the difference. The main tool of project delivery, really, I summarize it in three main aspects. Number one, management of the program itself. Often, not many programs have dependencies in them, and these dependencies are hidden surprises, such as underground utilities, traffic management, traffic diversion, plant and machinery, resource supply, site investigation, and the like. Those are dependencies that need to be embedded in the program. The other one is what I call reality check. Get out of the office and go and visit the site regularly. Be acquainted with what's happening on the site. It's not just a progress meeting, listening to the contractors and sub-consultants. You really need to appreciate the reality on site. So must have workable alignment, and don't make public statement about opening a railway if there is doubt. I mean, I have in mind Crossrail, how many times it was announced to be opened and how many times that announcement was false. Work closely and professionally with the client, consultants and contractors to fulfill project objective. One thing I have learned, Rahman, over the years, adversarial working doesn't work. It's a blunt tool of the incompetence. So these are just the three of the key issues that I would deploy as a lesson learned for project delivery.
It's not just those three key things you brought in here, Bassam.
Yes.
Management, reality check, and professional collaboration working. But you actually spoke about competency,
Yeah.
interface, integration, lots of. I can see that 36 years of experience in your talk. It's really a pleasure you bringing this knowledge onto this platform. What I actually think is what made you so good is probably the mentorship and training. Can you name a person or persons who have mentored you and helped you to be in this place where you are now? And what's your view on mentorship and training?
Well, I mean, like everything else, many people have influenced and mentored me. First comes to mind, of course, many of my former colleagues in British Railways Board. That is before the privatisation of the railway, where camaraderie, friendship, and professional relationships were essential. And of course, systematic, targeted training program. I mean, I've been on no less than 100 training courses by British Railways Board. A lot of them are training that require exams. You have to sit an exam for those training. I went to a British Rail school in Derby British Railway Board Technical Centre and Research Centre. So many people have influenced me. And being an inquisitive-minded person, I used to annoy people a lot because I used to ask too many questions because I wanted to learn, you see, and I used to write down everything I've learned, and I still have my logbook when I joined the railway, and I keep adding to it. I'm a very proud, self-taught person, first and foremost, because I believe you as an individual is the responsible person for your training. But the kindness, the professionalism of the people I have encountered has been excellent for me. I have to say, the people who were tough with me, the people who rejected me, if you like, and were difficult with me, taught me the most, because often you learn from problems, which I have learned a lot. And I'm very, very grateful to British Railways Board for actually giving me the grounding and giving me the confidence and the ability to think in a railway speed. With respect to the mentoring and apprenticeship, I think those are vital to address the skill imbalance that we experience now in the railway industry. I myself, I'm very proud of the fact that I have mentored and continue to mentor a few PhD students from British universities. Some have gone to work in the industry and achieve successes. So apprenticeship is the most vital missing link at the moment in the railway industry.
Beautiful. Thank you. I think I agree with you. Apprenticeship is most vital. And ask questions. Tough people, imperfections. What a summarization. Great insights, Bassam.
Yes, before you go, I'd like to say to you, I have learned a skill. When someone disagrees with you, technically or otherwise, he may have something to say to you that is useful. And I often actually shake their hands when they tell me I'm wrong.
Wow, that's correct. 100%. 100%. Generally, people get offended, but I concur with you.
Yeah, this is the way you learn. You see, if you go to a project meeting and everyone sat on their hands with tight upper lip, unable to speak because they are very worried, I mean, it's going to be a dull meeting. And all those people who attend meetings with me will tell you all my meetings are lively. I often question a lot of things. I don't take anything for granted. And I believe the simplest and the most obvious is the most difficult thing. And often the greatest offender into a project. For example, have we got power supply for the project? Have you got land? The basic questions you ask. Some people cannot ask these questions.
Beautiful. Bassam, my general last question would generally be, what is your one piece of advice? But you actually covered it. You spoke about leaders and what they need to do, how they need to be in your meetings, and you spoke about apprenticeship for the young joining people or the young team.
To address the skill imbalance that is widening. And I believe in the UK, which is suffering from this skill shortages, in Malaysia the same, and my understanding from my Australian colleagues, and I have lots of them, they tell me the same thing.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing your insights, and thank you for your time for this podcast, Bassam. It was pleasure talking to you.
Not a problem, and it was really nice talking to you, Rahman.
I believe everyone listening to this podcast has got something to take away from today's discussion. If you like this podcast, please listen, follow, and share this podcast within your network. If you believe we should be sharing your story or someone within your network, there is a railway leader who should be here sharing his or her contribution to this industry, contact me on railwaytransportationsystems@gmail.com. Thank you for your time today. See you next fortnight. Until then, stay safe and take care of yourself.